going to Kansas City. If I could, I come, I come, I come. I'm going to Kansas City.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
And I'm Emil Cleaver.
Every Tuesday, we drop a new episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. So a lot has been happening. One, something we didn't talk about, it happened right after we recorded the show last week, and that was the mass shooting at the LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs.
There are a few mass shootings. There was one in Walmart, but yeah, the one that happened right after our broadcast was...
So there have been so far 600 mass shootings this year in the United States. Mass shootings is really a United States kind of thing. But let me throw this out. So I was doing research. I mean, what can actually be done? So the only place in Europe where you can actually carry a gun is the Czech Republic. But in order to carry or in order to have a gun in the Czech Republic, you have to pass a test. You have to have a background check, safety storage check, and you have to have health clearance. And so in the Czech Republic, 1 in every 30 Czech has a permit. I think they said like only 40% actually pass the test that take it, somewhere around there. And if you look at the violent crime, according to the U.S. State Department, violent crime is very low in the Czech Republic. So it makes you want to think, okay, if they're carrying guns, well, they don't have as many. So let's be clear on that. But they still don't have a lot of violent crime there.
Yeah, 40%. Is that they said 40% carry guns?
No. 1 in 30. But only 40% pass the test.
Okay.
That take it.
1 in 30. 40% pass, 60% fail. I wonder why they're failing.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm guessing some of the answers that they ask, that they say.
So they have a list of 500 questions that are, but
that's how they get you.
Well, no, they don't get all. It's like it's selected randomly, so you only get like 30 to 40, but you can only miss one.
Oh, okay.
So that right there would eliminate a lot of mental
illness.
People. Yeah, because you can't miss. But then even if you pass that test, the written test or the multiple choice, whatever it is, you still have to pass a health clearance and then a background check. And that's simple. I don't know why anybody in the United States would be against. I mean, I do, because that means a lot of folk wouldn't be able to get any guns. I mean, just imagine how many people that have guns, if they had to take a test and could only miss one.
I mean, America, they're not going to come get your guns now. It's a little bit
Yeah.
too late. But
I know.
if they couldn't get a gun, that would.
But here's the thing. Even if you have a gun that's passed down to you, you still have to go through this because every gun is registered. They have it all. So if, a father or a parent dies and they pass their gun on to their children don't automatically get it. They have to go through the same screening. They have to pass a test, the health screening, safety check, and safety storage check, and all of that.
That's crazy that you can even pass guns down. I mean, some people have 30, 40 guns.
Yeah, but I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, the government in the Czech Republic's not going to come get your guns, but they will.
In America.
Yeah, well, that's true, but they will. So because if every gun is registered and the child or whoever it's passed on to doesn't pass the test, then yes, they come get your guns.
Well, I mean, like you said, they don't have a gun problem there,
right?
It doesn't even matter.
That's true. They don't have mass shootings. The violent crime is very low. The biggest, I think, crime they have there are maybe pickpockets, is what I was reading.
So yeah, the mental illness thing, I think that's the big thing with this case, because I saw an interview with the father of this guy.
They never know.
He was I guess an MMA fighter, former MMA fighter, and
shooter or the father?
No, the father.
Okay.
The father of the shooter was a former MMA fighter, and he sounds like it. And he said the lawyers called him, his son's attorneys called him to tell him about it, that he had shot up a gay club. And he said the first thing he's thinking, well, why is my son in a gay club? Because we don't do that here. We don't do that in our family.
That was his first thought.
That's his first thought. And then his father said, the attorneys told him, well, your son shot up the club. He's not gay. And his father said, whew, in this interview, I kid you not, I can't believe you haven't seen it.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's like, oh my goodness, thank goodness he's not gay.
Oh, I'd rather have him kill people than be gay. Come on now.
So, I mean, that just goes to show you the mental illness. This man probably should never even have had a son or any children if that's what he's teaching.
So you
them.
need a test.
Because he's talking about I'm a conservative and I'm a Mormon. And
how you going to be a Mormon and come on, man. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well.
Mental illness. That's how.
So, yeah, that mental illness, even the father. So if his father's happy that his son, as long as his son's not gay, but he killed 5 people, and he's happy about that, then yeah. I mean, we have a serious mental illness problem. So here's what I say. The brain is the thing that you use every single day. It's the one muscle that is used more than any other muscle in your body. But it is the one thing that most people never get checked out. And I'm just trying to think how many lives could be saved if you had, mandatory mental illness check, especially to get a gun. The father may just be suffering from CTE. If he was an MMA fighter, maybe he has some, to say something stupid like that.
Yeah, I think it's more than CTE.
Yeah.
I mean, he was proud that, that his son wasn't gay. And he said we don't do gay in this house. We don't.
He
do
doesn't
gay.
know. He doesn't know.
So
people like that probably are. He can't say what somebody else does. He didn't know his son was in a club like that, and didn't know his son was going to shoot up, and maybe he did. Maybe he knew his son was capable of doing that. But when people see those signs, parents see those signs and do nothing. Still, I don't know. Maybe some charges ought to be brought against them. I know it wasn't a minor. I know it wasn't a minor, but you remember on the last episode of Jerry Seinfeld where they were arrested because of, I don't even know if that's real, Good Samaritan laws, because they saw a crime being committed and they didn't say anything. Yeah. But so if you know somebody has the capability, the mental fortitude to do something like that and say nothing, what are we supposed to do? Just say, all right, well, they didn't do it.
No, I think they do owe some responsibility, but how much did his father know? Like I said, his father seemed to be mentally ill, so somebody needs to turn him in before he does something the way he's talking.
Well, he did the interview, so the world's seen
him. He's a former MMA fighter, but in the video, it looks like he just got out of a fight. He has scratches on his face, and he's clearly too old to still be fighting, but
maybe he did get into a fight.
Yeah, so I don't, yeah. That's like Cain Velasquez, his father. The man that molested his child, and the parents were helping him get away when Cain Velasquez was shooting at him. How much responsibility do the parents have knowing that their son molested some children?
Yeah, now in a case like that, yes, the parents ought to be held responsible as well. They ought to face some sort of crime. They're helping their son. They know what's going on. Something like that. If you know a crime has been committed, and you don't do anything, you say anything. That's already not allowed.
Yeah.
But again, the United States, we are of all the developed countries in the world, the United States is the most violent, and we are mass shooters. That is an American phenomenon, and again, we still seem to do nothing about it. So again, like I said, there's a lot going on. Some of you all may have heard or even seen the ad done by Balenciaga, which is some fancy.
Yeah, I never even heard of it.
I know, because it costs way too much.
started talking about them.
Lizzo talks about it, the fashion in her songs, and so does Cardi B, Kanye. It's something for rich people. I mean, I don't know why you'd pay $500 for a T-shirt.
That's ridiculous.
That doesn't make sense. Just because it has a name on it, come on, man.
Yeah.
But they say it, and then all these other people who can't afford it, they want to go out. Oh, Kanye said Balenciaga, and Nicki Minaj said it, or somebody. So I got to come on, there, people. The people in the U.S., man, we got some problems. I mean, that is purely. But they have an ad where children are wearing their shirts, Balenciaga shirts, and they're posing with teddy bears who are dressed in sex gear. Of course, they removed that. Have you seen any of the pictures?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it when it first came out, actually, and that's the world we live in. I mean, there was a meeting, a group of people who met about this ad. It wasn't just one person who decided this. This was a group of people, probably a dozen, maybe even a dozen people, and nobody in that group thought that this was a bad idea. That's the thing that's disturbing, and that says a lot about the culture, the society we live in. I mean, the gun culture, the sex culture. I mean, we're putting kids up in these ads, especially when there's, these sex trades, sex slaves going on in this world. Kids are being kidnapped and sold into slavery.
Every executive in that company, I know they had an advertising firm, but everyone who allowed that to happen, there should be some crime. They should be brought up on sex,
child pornography.
Yeah, child pornography.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and then
that was cute.
And then the punishment should be that they should be tied to a tree, and people get to come by, and whatever makes them throw up, to bring that to them and just make them throw up.
Make them smell
over and over again.
Eggs.
Over and over again. Because the company ought to be shut down. I mean, anybody, and I know Balenciaga, they apologize. Oh, so sorry, blah, blah. That's what everybody does. They apologize. But the fact that they let that happen says that the company ought to be shut down. And I'm saying it's going to be hard for me to respect anybody who wears that stuff. I mean, knowing that they pretty much promoted sex. But here's the thing about it. I hear more about that, I hear more about what Kyrie Irving did than this. And this, to me, is much worse.
Yep.
I mean, it's much worse. But Kyrie Irving took more heat than this company. And all those performers all of them need to come out and say something.
Yeah,
Lizzo,
they should.
I saw Kim Kardashian finally, because I guess she was one of their spokespeople. There are a bunch of celebrities that advertise for them. And every single one of them, if they don't come out and say something, they ought to, I mean, we like canceling people. This is too ridiculous. Too ridiculous.
Yeah, the ad was out of hand. I mean, just the mere thought that they thought it was okay. I mean, that's what I can't get past, that adults thought that this would be okay. They thought it was cute.
But who are they advertising to? Who's going to see? Who did they think would see that and say, you know what, I need one of those shirts?
I don't know.
A pedophile who's like, yeah, I want to have a kid with a teddy bear with some sex gear on. I mean, that's who they were advertising to. Who else?
I would never even buy anything like that. It's a shirt or something, right?
I mean, I think they make more than that, but they were advertising shirts.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
which I'm sure those shirts cost hundreds of dollars.
I don't pay $100 for a T-shirt.
Yeah, but I guess I understand if you are filthy rich, it doesn't matter.
Still wouldn't pay $100 for a T-shirt.
I wouldn't either. I would never. If I were a billionaire, I wouldn't pay $100 for a T-shirt. But I'm thinking of all those folk who are going to wear it just because celebrities have it. That goes back to something we talked about a while ago, celebrity worship. I've had people ask me, why in ancient times did they worship so many gods, different gods? Where do they come? I'm like, well, look around today. We do the same thing today.
Yeah,
people,
pretty much.
No, for real. They worship celebrities.
Yeah, they do worship them. They worship them.
So everybody needs to be fired. Some people need to go to prison. And maybe the person who came up with it and the person who approved it, the two people who are most responsible, need to be put in a cell with some dude who's 6'9", and is waiting, who's waiting for that, who's waiting for somebody like them with soft, supple skin to come up in the prison, and we'll see if they approve that ad again. And maybe here's what you do: you put them in the cell with some 350-pound dude who likes to fight and who's waiting for somebody.
Everybody in jail likes to fight almost.
Not everybody, but somebody who's waiting for somebody like them, and then their cellmate, their 350-pound cellmate, makes them put on that clothes and take a picture.
That's scary when you say they're waiting for somebody like that.
Yeah, I know, but that ought to be their punishment, to make sure that nobody else, make sure Gucci doesn't do it, Dolce & Gabbana, whoever, make sure none of them ever think about doing
all the
anything
big
like
time name brands.
Man, I never owned it. I mean, I know it because people talk about it. But anyway, so that was some more crazy news.
Crazy news, crazy world.
Yeah, this is crazy news week. The other is your boy, Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys.
America's team. I don't know how they became America's team, but
there's a history of racism with the Dallas Cowboys. If you read what Tony Dorsett talked about years ago, he talked about how he was called N-words, and nobody stood up for him except Roger Staubach. Everybody else was like, "Oh, it's just the way it is, man."
In the locker room,
the fans. He's talking about
the fans.
All in Dallas, the fans. And then we're talking about the 80s, the late 70s and 80s, man.
And we're talking about one of the all-time greats of that era.
If you
one
go
of the
back,
great running backs. I mean,
Tony Dorsett talks about that. I mean, but even his teammates, he said Roger Staubach stood up for him. It was like, man, but it seemed like the coach, the owners, he didn't say Tom Landry stood up for him.
Well,
but
I'm
anyway,
surprised.
So Jerry Jones, is picture surfaces of him blocking students from going into Central High School
he was
in
in the
Little
crowd.
Rock. Well, yeah. So, of course, he came out and apologized, says he was just there because he was curious.
He said all of them were curious.
Yeah, right.
All the kids were curious. Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Because he was on the football team, and he said the coach told them not to go. But he went, and everyone else was only there because they were curious. And I'm thinking, curious because what, he's never seen a Negro? I want to see one up close and personal.
I want to touch his skin, see if it comes off.
I want to
it
touch
rubs
it
off.
He can't really be that color. So the people, your boy, somebody on ESPN defended him, saying because the picture happened 50 years ago, you can't hold him responsible.
Man. It was a black man that said this, that is defending him. Stephen A. Smith, we might as well say his name. Stephen A. Smith, who criticizes black athletes harshly, came out, rushed out, jumped out the window, and said, "No, sir, you can't say nothing about Jerry Jones. That's my massa."
So you disagree with that just because he was 14, 15, however old he was, and it was 50 plus years ago, you don't think it ought to slide?
When you were 15 years old, did you think it was all right to throw rocks at Chinese people?
Of course not.
Okay, well then, there you go. He knew the difference. He knew the difference at that age.
What has it changed?
Emmett Till was killed.
Yeah.
When he was 15 years
13.
old. You have kids that are in prison for life for
true.
things they did at 15 years old. You have people who had marijuana offenses who spent dozens of years in prison, and they were 15 years old when they got caught. So he has to hold some responsibility. He has to, to say that he was just curious is a little bit of ignorance on his part. Because he knew what was going on in the country. Yeah,
the youngest person ever executed in the United States was a black boy by the name of George Stinney. and it was based on a white girl lying on him. He's 14 years old, is the youngest person ever executed in the United States. But some people might say, well, his views may have changed.
But they haven't. We know that they haven't.
He's never had a black coach.
And that's what I don't understand. Stephen A. Smith is jumping out his skin trying to defend this man like he's Uncle Ruckus or something.
Yeah, I mean,
he's never hired a black coach. Let's go there. At all these seasons, he's been with the Cowboys.
He's owned it since 1989.
Never
it's
a
30
black
some
coach.
years.
No head black coach. And then he had a problem with people kneeling on his field.
He had a more problem. He said if any of the Cowboys did that, they would not have a job. That they would no longer be playing in the NFL.
Doesn't seem like he's changed much.
But according to Stephen A. Smith, we ought to give him another chance, sir. Yes, sir, boss.
Give him another chance.
I mean, he did jump out. I mean, come on, man. Stephen, come on.
Yeah,
come on, man. Come on.
You know, on the Breakfast Club, they give out Donkey of the Day. And on this show, maybe we need to give out Coon of the Week.
Man.
Something. Because, I mean, you could have just kept quiet.
Just come on.
If anything.
Yeah, why would you stick up for him when he's never stuck up for black people?
Never.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Just be quiet. Just keep it to yourself.
And the Uncle Ruckus Award goes to
Stephen A. Smith.
Damn,
you are the Uncle Ruckus of the week.
Stephen A. Smith reminds me of an old joke by the great Damon Wayans. I mean, because ESPN pays him very, very, very well. You know, remember that joke, Damon Wayans? Damon, now that you have $20 million, is there racism in America? No, sir. And if in there is, I ain't seen none. That's Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith.
That's Stephen A. Smith. This dude.
He has the platform to say something. But, you know, in all actuality, and I don't watch those shows. I've seen clips. I've seen clips of it. But Max Kellerman sticks up more for black people than Stephen A. Smith does.
I've seen social media talk about that Max was the black voice on that show. But then didn't he get kicked off that show or something? He's not on that show anymore. Stephen A. didn't want him on there because he was too black. Max Kellerman is a white guy, by the way, if you didn't know.
Yeah, man, Stephen. Yeah, I'm disappointed in you, Steve. I mean, I didn't really care for you to begin with.
Yeah.
But
I'm not surprised.
To stick up for this man who doesn't stick up for black people, I just don't understand it.
No,
so, Uncle Ruckus of the ward, and if you ask me, Jerry Jones does not get a pass. I don't care that it was 50 years ago. He has not done anything to show that his views have changed. I mean, when people were kneeling, I mean, come on, and he's gonna say we're gonna fire you because you're standing up for what you believe in. Come on, no.
Yeah.
No, then Dak Prescott, you saw him?
What?
Dak Prescott.
I didn't know he said. What did he say?
Back when people were kneeling, Dak Prescott, the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, like,
show me that.
No, sir. Y'all shouldn't be doing that, sir.
No, sir. We don't.
No, sir.
Sir. This football.
I don't care that black folk been getting killed, and this is a perfect opportunity for the entire world to see you take a stance. No, sir. Don't do it with football.
He got all them sponsors. I don't even watch football, but I know who he is because he has the sponsors and all that. So
commercials.
Yeah, no, sir. And if in there is, I ain't seen none.
He has a commercial where they do for some mattress where he sleep, and that goes perfectly because Dak, you are asleep.
Because Dap from school days would tell him to wake up, brother.
Wake up,
you need to wake up.
Wake up, my brother.
Yeah.
The other crazy news that happened this week, or last week, is two very popular, well-known, let me say, people, Kanye West and Donald Trump, had a meeting. You want to tell what happened in this meeting for those who may not know?
The breakdown was Kanye met with Trump. He was supposed to come alone.
And he brought some people. That is ignorant as it come, man. I've been to some situations.
Me too. Me too.
I'm like, me too.
Okay. Yeah. So he brought some other people. Kanye then proceeded to ask Donald Trump to be his vice president, his running mate in the upcoming election. Now, can you imagine one narcissist telling another narcissist to be his sidekick?
To ask him, who's already been president,
to be his sidekick. I mean, do you know how insulted Donald Trump must have felt?
which I don't care that he was insulted, but it was still.
So Kanye goes to social media talking about Donald Trump, starts yelling at him and telling him that he won't win, he can't win. And Donald Trump came out and said he's deeply disturbed and just happens to be an African American, which in other words means that nigga's crazy.
That's basically what he said, because
what he said.
There is no need to say, and he's also African American.
No need.
Because you could easily say Donald Trump is deeply disturbed, and he just so happens to be white. I mean, there's no need to say that. He's just disturbed. But two people who really need to talk to mental health professionals in a meeting. I mean, it ought to be illegal. If we know there are two.
If they meet, there should be a mental health professional there to mediate. But I mean, what can you tell them? They're extremely successful people. You can't tell them.
And there are some people who think Kanye ought to run. I mean, they want him to run. Just shows that, maybe he has a following of mentally ill people. Or people who they're just so blind, they just worship. I mean, again, people voted for Donald Trump. It's all about idolatry. And so they spend time worshiping these people. But we don't need Ye to be president, vice president, mayor, city council. We don't need him to hold a seat on the school board or even attend school board meetings.
Yeah, and black people really shouldn't be supporting this dude at this point.
He doesn't support black folk.
Yeah,
why are you all supporting him?
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, all his followers, his fans should be white at this point.
All his followers should be zero.
Yeah, well.
But, I mean, who's following him?
A lot of people.
I know. But I bet you he lost a lot of followers with this situation with Trump, because I think a lot of people probably worship Trump more than him. And then might be the other way around, too. A lot of people might stop following Trump because they worship Ye more than they worship Trump. Crazy. That's the world we live in. Crazy news after crazy news.
Crazy people run the world.
Yeah. Nobody's testing them. So let me just say again to people, and if you notice, people like Jerry Jones and Donald Trump, they're similar. I mean, people who have a lot of wealth, have a lot of power, think that what they do is right, and they can get by just because they have a lot of wealth. I do think, Jerry Jones came out with that weak excuse, apologizing because he saw what happened to some NBA owners when it was discovered that they were a part of the KKK. Jerry Jones, I think, is probably still a card-carrying member.
Yes.
And
always will be.
I feel sorry for those people who bought the excuse that he was just curious. I ain't never seen no colored boy before.
There you go, right there. Let me touch your hair, boy.
And everybody. Yeah, so basically when he said everyone was there because they were curious, he was basically sticking up for his friends.
Yeah.
Who are also members of the KKK.
Yeah, because he could have just said he was there,
right.
But he said everybody there was just curious.
Come on. You can't, yeah.
Nope. No. Did you see the faces on some of those people? They weren't curious. They were angry.
By the way, Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas is the most segregated in the entire state of Arkansas, public school, in terms of you have a good portion of whites, blacks, Latinx to this day. So the integration of the Little Rock Nine actually did some good for that school. No thanks to Jerry Jones and all the black people that love the Cowboys, man. Come on.
For some reason.
Come on.
I don't understand.
Come on. We know they were racist. Tony Dorsett, if you like the Cowboys, listen to what Tony Dorsett said. Now, I had one friend who's a huge Dallas Cowboy fan, and he said when we heard all this, he's like, okay, so are the other owners. It's just Jerry Jones is out in the open. So if you're going to watch football, you're going to cheer for a team with a racist owner.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. It's pretty accurate for the most part, I would guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I would if I had to guess, I would guess that most of those NFL owners are racist.
I would say a lot of them cannot relate, don't understand black people, even though the majority of their players are black. Especially if the owner came out and say, don't kneel. That means you don't understand the people who are playing for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of mental illness. On another note, sad news. Irene Cara, star of Fame, star of Sparkle, died on November 25th at the age of 63. I watched Fame last night just to see it again.
Yeah, iconic actor. I mean, iconic, I guess, 80s performer just because the songs that she did were so big.
Flashdance, and the song "I'm Gonna Live Forever" on Fame. I mean, those were two huge songs,
huge iconic songs. So, yeah, I mean, she was a big figure in the '70s, I guess, late '70s, early '80s. But
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if Fame was so big, of course, there was a TV series. So we thought, in recognition of Irene Cara and all that she's done, the movies that she's been in, we would name the top 5. And again, most of our top 5s are impossible to do, but top 5 dance movies of all times, being that she was one of the stars of Fame. And Fame was more than just dance. I mean, it was about art, dancing, music, acting. But we said we're going to name the top 5 dance movies. And
is Amir, you first?
I think it's me. So let me go. One, and this was a tough, but I'm going to put at number 5, I'm going to put Footloose. One, just because it was a coming-of-age movie. I was a teenager when I saw it with Kevin Bacon. So it was a teenage movie that, you know, it was always good to see people who were supposed to. It was a teenage movie, although Kevin Bacon was in his 20s. but it was about teenagers. And all that, a lot of those, you go back and look at that movie, like, man, those people were somewhere in their 40s.
Yeah, they were.
But
20s.
Footloose is about a boy, Kevin Bacon, who moved from somewhere, I don't know, to a small town.
I think it was Chicago.
A small town where dancing was illegal.
This was based off of a true story.
No, but here's what always got me, even when I saw it, that when they finally had the dance, Kevin Bacon showed the pastor in the Bible where it talks about dancing. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, how come the pastor didn't know that was there?
He didn't. He ignored it.
Man, come on.
He didn't say he didn't know. He just ignored it.
Okay, but you know it's there. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, that is silly. But it was a coming of age movie, so at that number 5. Number 4, I'm gonna put Fame. And forever. Like I said, even though it was more than a dance movie, it was about art. And
Debbie Allen.
Yeah, and Debbie Allen was in it. It was a pretty powerful movie to put you in the mindset of people who are going into fields where they rely on others' interpretation of what they do. I mean, it's a tough field. And of course, Irene Cara, her the closing of how the last scene that she was in, you felt sorry for her. But Fame at number 5, of course, Irene Cara, the big song that people will play for generations to come. Number 3, I'm going to put Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta. Disco movie. That's where the Bee Gees, I mean, they were huge when that movie came out. Of course, they had the theme song. John Travolta in his white suit, dancing. Disco was big when that came out.
Then Barbarino.
Yeah, and then his career blew up. He blew up after that.
Superstar after that.
Yeah. So number 3, Saturday Night Fever. Number 2 is a movie maybe not as popular, and that was Bojangles, played by Gregory Hines. It was
It was a popular movie at that time.
Yeah, it was a
TV movie.
Yeah, it was a TV movie. And Bojangles during his time, he was a dancer. He was the highest paid black entertainer, but he did have a troubled life. And what I like about the movie, at the end, they show a scene where Bojangles is dancing on the steps, and they put it side by side with Gregory Hines. And I mean, Gregory Hines is right on point with what Bojangles did. So I always thought that was cool because, again, you had a true dancer. I mean, Gregory Hines,
he came from.
He would sing, he could act, but at the heart, I think he was a dancer.
That's what his first love
He was a dancer. Number 1 is Beat Street, King of the Streets.
Beat Street.
Just because it was a hip hop movie, the dance battles in the subway area.
Great.
I mean, just have to go with Beat Street. I mean, for somebody who loves hip hop, for something like that to come out in the 80s, I mean, that wasn't. I mean, the mainstream culture was becoming fascinated with breakdancing. And so they did add a little too much, try to add some ballet to it, a little something, but it was still a good movie. And then you have, of course, Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5 with the theme song. So Beat Street, I'm going to put that as the number 1 dance movie. And then I have some honorable mentions, but we'll do that after you.
All right, so number 5, I'm going to have Breaking, Turbo and Ozone. I know it's a very, you look back on that movie now and it is terrible.
Cheesy. The acting was outrageous.
But I mean, as a kid growing up in the dance moves, especially Turbo.
Yeah, Turbo killed
Turbo
it.
was killing it. I mean, Ozone with the pop locking was cool, but Turbo, I mean, especially the broom scene and all that, man, Turbo
was cool.
I was off the chain at that time. I mean, Special K, they could have left her out.
Yeah. They had to put.
They could have left her out of there, but I understand. I mean, well, they wouldn't have.
Yeah, I know they wouldn't have been able to make it if they didn't put Special K in there.
So number 4, I have Stomp the Yard. So Columbus Short, Megan Good. It was really a step movie about stepping. But I mean, it was stepping really is a kind of a dance. So. Yeah, I mean, so I was in a fraternity. I used to be in the step competitions. Well, I guess I used to participate in one. And used to be in step competitions. So, of course, I was fascinated by this movie. It was a good movie, Columbus Short, Megan Good. Of course, Columbus Short is blackballed nowadays, but, back then he was on his way up. Number 3, I got to go with Footloose, Kevin Bacon, 7 Degrees of Separation from Kevin Bacon.
6.
I thought it was 7.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Some degrees of separation.
Yeah, so Kevin Bacon, watched this movie dozens of times because they played it on cable all the time when we were growing up. But, yeah, I mean, it was a fun movie. Kevin Bacon teaching these people how to dance. And then I guess in the dancing, they did have little Negroes doing their little pop locking. Remember that? They showed it, even though
they didn't have any speaking roles.
They weren't in the movie any other time, but at the end when they needed some really good dancing.
We're going to need to put some colored people in here to have them
really
dance.
Good dancing at the end, at least one good dancer.
Kevin, you're good, but everybody else.
Number 2, I'm going to go with Saturday Night Fever. John Travolta doing his thing, disco was big at that time. Saturday Night Fever, the soundtrack, probably the greatest soundtrack to a movie ever. So that's my number 2. Number 1 is Beat Street. Cannot beat Beat Street. Can't beat it. I mean, it was the breaking in that movie. New York City Breakers, Crazy Legs, all them. Yeah, just a great, great, great dance movie. Showed the culture. One of my honorable mentions, I'm gonna put Flashdance.
Yeah,
I like that movie. It was a good movie about somebody fighting for their dreams, going for their dreams. So that's my honorable mention, Flashdance. You got any honorables?
Yeah, I got Flashdance and I got Breaking. I put Breaking in there. Also put Hairspray. That was with John Travolta and Queen Latifah, based on the stage play, basically trying to integrate this TV dance show.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was pretty good. The storyline was pretty good. I mean, John Travolta did play a mother in there. That was kind of
Weird.
yeah. Why not just get a woman to play that role? Anyway, so yeah, I have that on there. Let us know what you think. I'm sure there's some movies. I remember there's one with Jessica Alba was in it. I forgot the name of that one. A bunch of dance movies.
Yeah, Black Swan was a pretty good movie. Ballet movie. Striptease.
Yeah, Striptease. I remember that. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
That was a good movie. So let us know what you think. What dance movies did we leave off? Put it in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every Tuesday we drop a new episode. And check us out most places you get your podcasts.
If you like music, check. I got a new app project out going to Kansas City. I'll leave the link after the show. So you can just click on it, listen to the new music.
Check it out in the link.
Peace.
I'm a